Ever since I saw a picture of these two LEGO Batman tumblers built in next to each other, I knew I had to make a comparison video between them. Now, I'm a pretty big LEGO Star Wars fan, and in the world of LEGO Star Wars, there have been a lot of sets recently that feel egregiously overpriced compared to previous versions of the same model. But I think I found a couple of sets here from LEGO Batman that might one-up LEGO Star Wars in just how crazily overpriced the new version is. So on the left here, we have the 2021 Batmobile Tumbler Scarecrow Showdown, 422 pieces, originally selling for $40. That's 4 years ago. And now we have the 76303 Batman Tumbler versus Two-Face and the Joker with 429 pieces. That'll be $60, sir. Using my comparison scoreboard here, we're going to find out if that extra $20, or put another way, a 50% price increase is worth it for this 2025 Batman Tumbler set. To my surprise, the Batman minifig here has seen a few changes, and we'll start with the torso print, which is definitely a lot more densely packed with detail on the newer version, although I'm not sure which is more accurate. I believe they are from different movies, the one on the left from Batman Begins, the one on the right from The Dark Knight Rises. Hopefully I have that right. I'm not the biggest Batman expert, but yeah, definitely some differences in detail on the torso. Maybe the more noticeable thing, though, is the cape. The cape is now rubberized instead of the cloth cape of old, and I am not a huge fan of the rubber cape. I don't think it's necessarily terrible. Like, it's actually pretty good for what it is, and it still allows the minifigure to sit down, which is nice, I guess, but I think there's a feel and look to the cloth cape that just can't be beat by rubber. So I don't think I love that it's a rubber cape. I really wish they'd go back to cloth. And then they've also updated the Batman mask or cowl or headpiece, whatever you want to call it, and it's now like a dual mold where the white of the eyes is built in to the mask design. This is something that was previously printed on the Batman faces, which made them look super awkward without the headpiece on. And so I think this is a far superior design. This is a vast improvement on what they had before. So really happy to have seen that finally happen for LEGO Batman here. It actually looks super cool. Now, I thought the Scarecrow was very nice for that 2021 set, but the Joker and Two-Face figures are way cooler to me than the Scarecrow. You can never go wrong with the Heath Ledger Joker. They've, of course, got a double face on him, so you can switch it around, and Two-Face technically has a double face, I suppose, just because of the name, but yeah, you can't flip his face around. It's just the half print on the back of the head, and the hairpiece is really fantastic for him, as it, of course, only covers about half of the head, which is super accurate. The one part I don't love is that the detail doesn't descend to the leg as far as him being like half burnt up or whatever. Otherwise, very nice figures for the new 2025 set. So I think the minifigures for the 2025 set are far superior to what we saw in 2021, so 2025 will be getting the point for this round. When it comes to the playability category, both tumblers are very similar. They, of course, both have wheels that allow them to roll around for that kind of play. Neither of them have wheels that actually turn, so it's basically just go straight and then like turn it on your own, but kind of the same experience there. Both of them have integrated stud shooters. So on the 2021 version here, you have them at the very front. You just push on it, they shoot off. Just very simple. And on the 2025 version, they're way up at the back here, but same exact experience, and they just fire off. I would, I guess, say technically, just you can see these ones fire much faster, much better than the ones on the 2021 version. So I think you could technically give an edge to 2025 there. Now on the back with the 2021 version, you do have the flame, which I think I would add in as like an imaginative play feature, because I think the flame coming out of the back for like a little kid would be pretty cool on the 2025 version. Just makes it feel like it's going faster. Looking inside of the 2021 interior, you've got space for two figures, you've got some stickered control panels, and you've also got like a little steering column or something there. But yeah, it's a very nice and tight interior. You'll also have a clip for storage at the top, but placing Batman in is fairly simple there. I suppose here you can see the downside of the cloth cape in some areas. If you're not careful with it, it can get propped up in a weird way. You can also move it back and out of the way, so it can be a bit awkward, honestly. I can see why they went away from the cloth cape for this set. Like, I get it, but I still don't like the decision as far as the design of the figure goes. But yeah, you close this top bit back up and you're good to go. And like I said, there's room for a second figure if you wanted like Scarecrow to accompany him. The 2025 version here is going to get a bit tighter as the model gets smaller. It's just going to have a smaller opening to place your figure inside. You've still got that clip at the top for storage, but on the inside, you've got a couple of control control panels. You can see a little lever, and if I point it down, you'll see a steering wheel. So I think the functionality on the inside is about the same, again, if not slightly better, because there's a movable lever and a steering wheel. But the space at the back there is not made to accommodate more figures. It's for Batman's giant rubber cape. Got to use a bit of extra light here, but you can see Batman is snug in there. It is definitely not made for two figures like the old one was, which I think you could argue is definitely a downside with the newer model. But certainly as far as the functionality of having Batman drive his own vehicle, the functionality still remains there just like it was in 2021. Just a bit of a tighter area to work into. Oh, look, like you gotta grab him twice to get him out. I bet that's not really gonna be any different here though, so it's not much of a, yeah, look, head comes off, there we go, now you pull the rest of the figure out. Now there is one more thing that the 2025 set provides, and that is the bat signal here. I feel like to this point the play features have been fairly even, but I feel like this one has to put the 2025 set over the top. It definitely has this added thing that makes it the better play set, because most of everything else was about the same, you know, give or take a little bit in one way or another, but this is just gonna kill it with little kids, I think. Having a bat signal is pretty cool. So despite being an obviously downsized model, the 2025 set at the very least retains the same amount of playability, but I really think it's better for play than the last one was. Plus you get two villains instead of one if you want to work the minifigs into how playable this set is, so that's a little bit more there too. So I definitely feel like it brings more value as far as play goes. Looking at these tumblers for their design, their accuracy, and how they're going to display, they are similar. However, there are still quite a few differences that you might not notice. So the first thing that I noticed was on the very front wheels, there is an actual connection between the middle bar and like the inside of the wheels, where in the movie there is not supposed to be. So the 2021 version is actually more accurate in that area, and that seems to be just one of those things that as they've downsized the set, they can no longer support the wheels properly without some additional support on the inside of it. On the other side of the wheels though, the removal of the stud shooters in that area I do think makes that front end look a little bit cleaner, so it's definitely a give and take there, because also with the back, you've added on stud shooters for the 2025 version, which obviously looks worse than it did with just an accurate design on the 2021 version. So probably a wash there as far as the stud shooter argument goes, just the wheel design being worse is worse for the new version. Now the seating area and the windscreen design, while smaller on the new one, still basically retains all of the same design aspects that it needs to have, except for a little bit of loss in sticker detail that was accurate on the 2021 version that's just no longer there at all in any way, shape, or form on the 2025 version. I think this back section here was exceptionally detailed in 2021, and I think it's the most obvious area in 2025 where you can see they've had to take away a lot of detail to, of course, accommodate the smaller size. Both of these are obviously well-built, fairly accurate sets, but I think the 2021 version just has the edge as far as the design goes. The only thing I think you could really give to 2025 is that it is technically closer to minifig scale, and if that's something you really value in your display and in your collection, then yeah, you might be leaning towards that 2025 version being better as far as the design goes. But I personally don't think anything being closer to minifig scale should trump so many different little things being wrong and downgraded on a newer version of something. And I think the best argument I can make for this is, would you say that the UCS scale tumbler is a worse design than this 2025 tumbler because it's not as close to minifig scale as the 2025 tumbler? You probably wouldn't. And so aside from it being a little bit further away from true minifig scale, I think the 2021 set is the better, more accurate design for the Batman tumbler. Now, that's not to say the 2025 set is a horrible design. It's not. The price is what's horrible. The value someone gets out of something will always be subjective. However, I feel like in this case, it should be pretty cut and dry. On the left, you have the 2021 tumbler that was $40 at its release. That's $46.50 adjusted for inflation. And somehow the new set costs $60, despite being about the same piece count, but being smaller. So like if it's the same number of pieces and the model is smaller, it would stand to reason that the set should be cheaper. This new set should still be $40, just like the last one was, because it's a smaller set than the last one. However, it's now effectively $13.50 or $20 if you're just looking straight up at the numbers, more expensive. Like, it's actually insane that LEGO is doing this, and I couldn't wrap my head around it until I did when I looked on Amazon and I saw that 500 of the previous LEGO Batman tumblers have sold in the last month. It was the holiday month, people buying gifts for Christmas, but 500 of them sold at a price of $95.95 each. We can maybe assume that some of them were sold for less, but certainly I don't think it's a stretch to say that all of them would have been sold for more than $60, which is the price of the new one. So if the old one sells for double to just general consumers on Amazon who don't know what they're looking at because they're buying gifts for kids for Christmas, then LEGO of course would think they can get $60 for this newer, smaller model. Like, it just makes sense to me that that's what LEGO's thinking is. Now, as a really in-the-know consumer that knows way too much about LEGO and the pricing and everything on past models to current models and how things should probably value out, I look at this new one and I think it's absolutely insane, but I feel like a parent buying a gift for a kid isn't going to think twice about it for the most part. And I think that's the disconnect that's really unfortunate, and that's what LEGO is absolutely going to be taking advantage of as they continue to look to increase profits. So the new one is absolutely worth value. I just don't see it at $60. This is an absolute do not buy for a penny over $45. You should hold out until it's cheaper than the last one was, adjusted for inflation. This is one of, if not the most egregiously overpriced sets when comparing to its previous release that I have ever seen. It's actually absurd. Yeah, 2021 is the better value for money. It's getting the point, of course, on the scoreboard, but frankly, I should take a point away from the 2025 model for being as bad as it is. And you know what? I'm just going to do it. It's my video and I get to make the rules, just like LEGO gets to make their prices ridiculous. When it comes to which set I like better, price aside, I feel like I'd be pretty torn. Like, I love the figures on the newer set, that Joker and Two-Face. They're just so cool. The bat signal is a very nice addition, but of course you are getting a slightly smaller, less good build. But it's not like horrible bad. It's not a horrible downsize. There are some examples in the world of LEGO Star Wars where the downsize, just you lose a lot of detail and you get some weird proportions. But this one didn't end up like ruining anything, I would say, on the tumbler. So I do like the new set quite a bit. I just hate the price. Like, the price is indefensible. And so I feel like I've got to award a point to 2021 for the better set, in my opinion, because, I mean, the price matters, I feel like. But if this one were more reasonably priced, even though it is a smaller model, I'd give it the nod, because the size of the model isn't necessarily the reason that it's bad. It's the price for the size of the model. If this was $40, yeah, we don't have a problem. But it's $60. It's smaller, and it's $60, and that one was $40. Make it make sense. So yeah, 1 point to 2021 for the better set, in my opinion. Despite coming into this comparison video ready to eviscerate the 2025 tumbler set for everything that it stands for, I actually found that I quite like it. I do think it is a very well done, very nice set with some great figures that has a lot of appeal to me. However, $60 is asinine. I don't know what they're smoking in Denmark, but it must be something expensive. Look, I made this comparison video to highlight the fact that LEGO has been increasing prices, and this is a really easy example to show how things have gotten more expensive while, in this case, getting smaller. Usually you'd think the price stays the same, but the item gets smaller, or the price goes up, but the item stays the same size. Like, those two scenarios make sense to me, but this example of something shrinking and becoming more expensive over the course of 4 years is just so crazy. So I do think the 2025 tumbler is worth buying at $45 or less. I don't think it's a horrible set. I do actually think for a downsize, it's very well done, unlike a lot of other downsizes in the world that I care about, LEGO Star Wars. But at a retail price of $60, this is just one of the most insanely overpriced sets of 2025. So let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section below. If you guys enjoyed the comparison, make sure you hit the like button, and you can check out more of my LEGO content on the end screen now.